Kakadosh Bokato, Masechet Shavuato, Masechet Betzah Daf Mem Amud Aleph. This is the last daf of Masechet Betzah. We're just going to start Lamenteta Mubet on the Mishnah on the bottom. Misha Yu Perotav Bidacheret. If a person had his fruits during Ben Hashmashot of, whether we're talking about Yom Tov, right? He says over here, outside of the city, in a different city, or even on Shabbat, and all of a sudden they made an eruv of the people of the city, that they wanted to bring different fruits. Lo yaviu lo, so they cannot bring him the fruits. Why? Because since he didn't do the eruv, even though everybody else did the eruv, but they cannot do an eruv for him, so he can't bring his fruits, or they cannot bring him his fruits because it goes according to the owners. But if he made the eruv, perotav kamo, so then his fruits are like him, and therefore he's allowed to bring him into the city without any problem. Mem Amud Aleph on the top. Imagine I invite guests. So what happens is they came from another city to my city in order to be my guests. Lo yolichu biyadam manot. They're not allowed to take food back to their destination. Right, manotehem erev Yom Tov. Unless from erev Yom Tov they came and they already were mezaket to other people their portions. So if I already went and I was mezaket this portion to Baba Haki before right Yom Tov, so that's his. So on Yom Tov he could take it back to his city without any problem. But if not, it's mine. So if I'm giving it to him on Yom Tov, he has to eat on Yom Tov, but only where I am. He cannot come and start taking it right back to where he wants. Okay? Says the Gemara. Itmar, it was stated. Hamafkid perot etzel chaviro. Imagine right now I give over my fruits as a deposit to my friend in order that he should watch over it. Rav Amar, Rav says, keragle mishifkidulo. So it's the nifkad. So I gave it to Ronen to watch over it. So now it's Ronen's responsibility. He's only allowed to move it, or we're allowed to move these fruits according to his eruv. Shmuel says, Shmuel says, according to me, I'm the owner, even though I went and I left it to you as a deposit, it's where can I go? Why don't we just say that Rav and Shmuel, each one are going according to the reasonings? As we learned in our Mishnah, if right now he brought in his property to the reshut of the Bala Chatzer, right? Bala Chatzer chayav. Which means like that. Imagine right now we're talking about obligations of damages. So imagine I come and I tell David, listen, you know what? I've got this merchandise or whatever it is. So you come and you say, yeah, bring it to my backyard, no problem. Bring it in. The second I bring it in, if something gets damaged, bala chatzer chayav, you're obligated to pay for it. Because since you gave me the permission to bring it into your property, you are now held responsible for my. Even if it was free. Yeah, but he said he kanes chavetzecha. Okay? Rebbe says, says Rebbe, David would never be obligated unless he accepts upon himself to watch over it. Meaning, if he just said, bring it in, so that doesn't mean I'm going to watch over it. That just means, listen, you're carrying it, you have no place where to put it. Bring it in. But if he says, don't worry about it, I'm taking care of it, that means he's held responsible for it. Amar says in the name of Rav, halakha k'divrei chachamim, the halakha is like the chachamim, which is Tanakama, Shmuel Amar, and Shmuel says halakha is like Rebbe. So even in the halakha, there's a machloket. Do we pass like the first opinion, the bala chatzer is going to be chayav, or do we pass, which is the Tanakama, or like Rebbe, which is basically only if he accepted upon himself the obligation or not. So lema Rav the Amar k'Rabbana. Why don't we just say that Rav, he holds like the rabbis, because remember, Rav was the one who says that it was like the nifkad, which is like David, right? That you got it into your possession. And Shmuel is the one that says, like Kiragleh Mafkid, the owner. So therefore it's like Rebbe, he holds like Rebbe. So Rav comes and he says, no, I could also hold like Rebbe. Why? When did Rebbe say over there to do with an obligation of nizakim, of damages? Because Nistama, he doesn't accept upon himself, obligation. Meaning, if I would come after him 20 minutes later and tell him, by the way, it got damaged, now you owe me money, he would have said, listen, I was doing you a favor. I never accepted upon myself any type of obligation or anything to start paying you. But over here, but to do with the tchum, right? We're already talking about you accepted upon yourself the chrayut of watching over the pirot. So therefore, also Rav holds like Rebbe. Shmuel Amar, and Shmuel says, I could also hold like the rabbis, like the Tanakama. Why? When do the rabbis come and they say that when you come and you put your property into another chatzer, right, baskama, right, and then you're accepting upon yourself Right? He comes and he says, right, bring it in and you're going to watch over it. For sure, it's good that a person wants to bring his properties in the Reshut of the Bala Chater, that he's going to become achrai, that he's going to be, right, obligated. He's going to be, how do you call it? How do you say achrai? He's going to be responsible, right, for the shmirah, for the watching over, right, of the things. Because then obviously he's not going to be chayav. But over here, is it good that a person is going to come and start putting the fruits into his friend's property? Minastam, a person wants that it should be in his own property, not in his friend's property. Meaning, in the first case, I'm happy to put it in your property. That's what it says. It's good for a person, right? So when basically David came and he told me, bring it inside, for sure it's going to be good to put it. Why? Because once it's in your property, you're responsible for it. So I'm happy that it's going to be in your property. But to do with the fruits, why am I going to be happy that it's going to be in your property? I prefer that it's going to be in my property. Right? Why? Because that way it's like mine. So that's why it goes according to my feet, not according to his feet. So therefore it says Shmuel, I could even hold like the rabbis, not like Rebbe. So basically we had one more time. We had Rav and Shmuel. Rav came and he says, you came and you gave over your fruits. You gave it to somebody else, right? The fact that you give it to somebody else, is it like the one that you gave it to or the owners? We had a machloket, Rav and Shmuel. Now we wanted to base that machloket on another machloket between Tanakama and Rebbe. Okay, between Tanakama and Rebbe. And now what are we saying? We're saying, right, that you can't make that a machloket between everybody. Why can't you make that a machloket between everybody? He says the reason why you can't make that a machloket between everybody is because each one could hold like the other one. And therefore you can't base the machloket upon that. Okay? Fine. Next, Tzanam, we learned in the Mishnah. If he himself did the eruv, so his fruits are like him. Now if you're going to tell me, that it's going after the ones, right, which they came and they were mafkidim to him, right? So he comes and he says, right, so which means the one which is like David, because in our case it was like that he gave it to David, right? So he comes and he says, kirev hu my havi. So he says, so when he did the eruv, what's it going to be? Okay, when he already did the eruv, what's it going to be? Right? Why? Because at the end of the day, if the Bala Pirot came and he did the eruv, what does it help? The tchum is nikva. It's going to be designated according to the nifkad, the one that was, for example, David. David was the one that he got it from him, right? That means I gave it to him to watch over it. So Amar Ravuna, right? So he says Amar Ravuna Amri Beida. Says Ravuna in the name of the Academy of Rav. Kegon shiichelo kenen zavit. He said he designated him a corner. What does that mean? One of the people of the city, they lent him a corner in order to designate to leave it there. So in such a case, it's ki'ilu that the fruits are already in the possession of the owner, and the stam, the balabait was not mekabel and small to start watching over it. So therefore, since the fruits are not in the reshut of the balabait, do the shmirah, Rav is going to be modeh. He's going to admit that it's going to be chal, the tchum of the owners, and not of the person that. Meaning like this. David came and he designated an area that I'm going to come and I'm going to put my fruits there. I'm the owner. He's giving me the section of the house. The fact that he only designated an area, but he doesn't accept upon himself shmirah, watching over it. So therefore, even according to Rav, it goes after me, the owner. Because even though I'm putting it in his possession, it's still in my territory, because if something does happen to it, it's my loss, not his loss. Okay? No, he had to designate an area in order, because if not, then what's the case? Obviously we're talking about that it was by him and it still goes after me. So why? The answer is because he only designated the area, but he didn't accept upon himself Shemitah. So the fact that he didn't accept upon himself Shemitah, that's why it still wasn't. Why would you ever accept that Shemitah? We wanted to bring a proof. If somebody is going to invite guests, so they're not allowed to take with their hands back to their city their portions. And unless they came and they were mizakeh, they merited their portions, right, to them on Erev Yom Tov. So now belongs to them. So if you tell me, it's like the feet of the one that you put it by. So what does it help? Right? At the end of the day, why does it help now to give it to them if it belongs to, again, what happened? I had guests over. Yeah, and Amichai is my guest. He comes to my house and I'm now going to give him a note. So he's not allowed to take it to his city. unless I was mizaket through somebody else to give it to him. But now, one second. If you just said it's like kiragle mishifkidu etzlo, right? Which means that it's chal the tchum of the nifkad. So he says, so then what does it help? That I'm going to be mizaket through somebody else. If it's nifkad by him, I went and I gave it to Laurent. I told Laurent, pick it up, and now you're going to be mizaket for Michai, right? With a whole bunch of persons. Yeah, so he comes and he picks it up. So what happens is that all of a sudden, now you have a problem now, because now it's where Laurent goes, not where Michai goes. So what does it help? What did I gain? So he says, Hachenami, you're right. Once he gave it to him through another person, so it's like that I designated an area for them. And once I designate an area for them, so now it goes like the Baalim, which is Amichai. Okay? Right? So he says, V'baitem, for when you can answer, Zika Shane. It's different than if you were Mizakeh through somebody else. So now it's not just like a regular case of a Pikadon. Now it really does belong to Amichai, the fact that I gave it to him. Next case in the Gemara. Rav Chana bar Chanilai, Tala Bisra be'avra dedasha. Rav Chana bar Chanilai, he was waiting by Erev Yom Tov outside of the Tchum of the city. And through Eruv Tchumin, he was permitted to go back into the city. So what happened was that he went and he had meat that the tabachim, that the butchers came and they gave him on Erev Yom Tov. He had it on the Bria Chadelet, on the lock. You know, the Bria Chadelet was like, that they used to have the lock, was like a piece of wood going from one part of the door to another part of the door. So that's called the Tzavariach. Yeah, so you put it right like that. Yeah. So he says he had it on the door of his achsanya, of his where he was staying. So Ata lekame of his host. Ata lekame de Rav Huna, he came in front of Rav Huna. Amar he comes and he says, At talit, if you were the one that hung it up there, zil shakil, so you could go take it and take it to your city. But if he was the one that hung it up there, lo tishkol, you're not allowed to take it. So he says, 1 second. But if he was the one that put it there, he's allowed to come and take it. Rav Huna was a Talmid of Rav. The Amar Rav says, the fact that I came and I put it by the host, so it's the host's tchum, not my tchum. So the second that it says tchum, so everything changes. So answers the Gemara, Shani Avre Dedasha, it's different on the bariach, on the lock of the door. He says, why? Because it's like I designated a certain area for him. And we already learned that if you designate an area for them, it goes according to the owners. Amale Rav Hillel Ravashi, says Rav Hillel to Ravashi, now if they were the ones that put it, he cannot take it. Shmuel says, Shor shel patam, when you have a shor that they're coming and they're fattening up in order to sell it. Yeah, an ox right before they want to sell it, what do? They fatten it up, make sure that it gains a little bit of weight, that that looks good. Why? They want to sell it. They want to get a good price for it. Huh? Yeah. So he comes and he says, Kiragle, right? Somebody's a shor. Yeah, shor shel patam. So he says, Kiragle kol adam. So he says it's like the legs of everybody, which means, right, that anybody that purchases it, they're allowed to take it wherever they want. So Amale Ravina Ravashi says Ravina to Ravashi, now what? If they're gonna put it, he's not allowed to take it. So the first proof was that if I wanted to sell my shor and I fatten it up, doesn't matter anybody in this room, even if Mordechai is gonna buy it, he could take it to wherever he wants, as long as it's where he could go. Amichai, Dr. Jean Paul, wherever every single person here can walk, that's where they could go. So the first question is, why did you just tell me that if they, the hosts, were the ones that put it on the door, so then I cannot come and take it? It's incorrect. Here it's written, everybody could take it. Second question, we pass like Rabbi Dosa. What was Rabbi Dosa? When you only had one shepherd in the city, okay, and they usually come and they give it to that person. So therefore, what's going on over here? Right? What's going to happen over there? It says the tchum of that shepherd is on all the animals of the city. So even if it was only given on Yom Tov itself, he's allowed to take it wherever he wants because he's the one that's in charge of it. So Amale Ravashi Levkana Vi'inu Talulo Shakil. Another third question. But tonight we learned in the Mishnah, they always go after the owners. So an animal is always after the owner. So says the Gemara, he says no. Rabba Chanilai, he's different because since he's such a big rabbi, right, he's always busy in his things. So therefore, because of that, he forgets what he's doing. So because of that, Rav Huna came and he prohibited to the fact that the meat was hung up by the host because of Masechet Betzah Daf. Meaning there's halacha, and Sfaradim, by the way, are much more machmirim than Ashkenazim in this halacha, right, which is Masechet Betzah Daf means is that you're not allowed to have meat which is hidden from the eye. You always have to have the meat in your eyesight, right? Right, that you're able to see it. Or sealed, obviously. The sealed means that they can't forge it. And this is what he told him. If you were the ones that you came and you hung it up, you have a siman, you're not going to forget about the siman. But remember, if you have a siman, so that's it. It's going to be a good sign that you know that nothing was switched. Zil Shakil said you could take it. But if they were the ones that did it, so then you don't have a siman, you're going to forget about everything. Lotishkol, don't take it. Says a Mishnah. And right, Mishnah and Mema Mudalef on the bottom. And mashkin v'shochatin to midbariyot. You're not allowed to give to drink and to do shechita to the midbariyot, to the animals which are outside of the yishuv, right? Because since you didn't plan on coming and giving them to eat beforehand, so it's a problem. Mashkin v'shochatin to midbariyot. You could do the ones which are in the house, because then you did want to actually come and do shechita to them. Remember, I told you already, they used to come and they used to give them a lot of water before doing shechita in order to make it easier to skin the animals. In order to skin the animal and to make it bigger and better and everything, he used to give it a lot to eat and drink before doing shechita. Elu and baitiyot. Right, these are the baitiyot. So therefore, the animal thinks that kol hakavod, now he's getting a three-course meal, and it's for shechita. Yeah. Elu and baitiyot. These are the ones which are baitiyot. The halanot bayir, the ones which are living in the city. But bariyot, which are the ones of bariyot, the ones which are going to be ba'afar, itna afar, right in the swamps outside. Says the Gemara, why does it have to say that you're going to drink and you're going to give it to drink and you're going to do shechita? It's coming to teach us something derech hagav. The person should always give it to drink and have to do shechita because of the buka haor labasar, which means that when the animal is going to drink, the skin becomes very soft, and then it's easy to come and to peel it off. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in the Beitzah. These are the animals which belong in the desert. These are the ones which belong in the houses. Mibariyot are the ones of the mibar Pesach. Anytime that it goes out in the spring, and it starts grazing in the swamps, and it comes back when it starts raining. These are the ones of the houses. He goes outside of the tchum, but it always comes within the tchum in order to sleep. Those are the animals which belong in the houses. Rebbe says, no, all of them, all these cases are considered from the houses. Which one? The ones are bariyot. Call the ones that go out and they start grazing in the swamps, but they don't come into the yishuv at all, not in the winter or the summer. So says the Gemara, does Rebbe actually hold of the concept of muktzeh? Rabbi Shimon bar Rebbe asked from Rebbe, when we're talking about tmarim, which are munachim bechotalot, so we're talking about dates which are placed in baskets in order to ripen, right? Rabbi Shimon, according to Rabbi Shimon, what's halacha? Meaning, are you allowed to eat this on Yom Tov, or did you segregate it from yourself, and therefore it becomes muktzeh? So Amalei comes and he answers, "En muktzeh Rabbi Shimon." There's no muktzeh for Rabbi Shimon. Mema mubet. Ela grugovet zimukim bilvad. The only thing which becomes muktzeh is grugovet zimukim. Why? Figs and grapes, when you come to put them to dry, those are the only things which become muktzeh. Why? Because at the beginning, once you put them to dry, it becomes nifsal achila, which means that you cannot eat it anymore. So once you put it to dry and you segregate yourself and it's not fitting to eat anymore, those are the only things which become muktzeh. Other than that, there's no muktzeh for Rabbi Shimon. By Dema, or if you want, you can answer another answer. This is also like Rogovet Zimukim, which means these animals, which they don't come in at all, are like Rogovet Zimukim, because since they completely segregated themselves, because they went out of the city and they're not coming back usually bichlal, so I cannot come and get these animals and start doing shechita to them, because I didn't have my mind in order to do shechita on these animals. Or the second answer, right? Really, he was trying to answer in the shita of Rabbi Shimon, but right, Rebbe himself does not hold of Rabbi Shimon. That means Rebbe holds that it's also muktzeh, even if you didn't push it off with your own hands. That's also considered muktzeh. But he was saying in shitat Rabbi Shimon, meaning according to Rabbi Shimon, there's no muktzeh, but I do hold a muktzeh. Okay. The third answer, you can answer the Rabbanan Kamal going in shitat Rabbanan that lididi, according to me, there's no muktzeh. Ela liditku, but according to you, odulumiyat, you are going to admit. And there are going to be baitot, and then obviously the answer will be for tomorrow.